Hey there, guys and gals. Welcome back to Back Pocket Game Reviews. And today, I know I haven't been anywhere around my channel for a little bit. I've been working like 12-hour days in my training program here before I take over my store. But today, some news broke about Nintendo potentially having a hostile takeover. And so, what that means is there is a group of investors that have been buying up stock and essentially disagree with something that Nintendo does as a whole, or feel that it's not being managed correctly. So a great example of a hostile takeover would be when Starboard did the same thing. Starbreeze. I'm not great with remembering names. It's just never been a strong suit of mine. But they actually took over Olive Garden, tried to get rid of unlimited breadsticks, and salted that the company that flash boils their pasta needs to salt the water, because that's not how you cook pasta without it being salted. Yeah. So a lot of these companies don't really have an expertise in the area, but just feel more money or more profit could be made if certain things changed. That's not always the case, and particularly with Nintendo here, the company's name is like Value something. It was some stupid shit. It sounds like they just tossed 4 different names right in, and that's the name of our investment company. And essentially what they're saying is Nintendo doesn't make as much money as other software developers, and saying that they could make more and it's being mismanaged. Specifically citing that Nintendo should be licensing out their properties in other media forms. If you don't remember, Nintendo did make a Super Mario Brothers movie, and that's part of why Nintendo doesn't make a lot of other forms of media nowadays. It's kind of why Nintendo's like, yeah, that did more damage for our brand than it helped, and kind of just stopped doing that. Weird that a company would maybe protect their IPs that they brought up from infancy into what is today known as some of the most valuable gaming IPs on the market, such as Zelda, Mario. But then they also go on to state that other development companies are making more money, specifically citing EA and Activision. So what that means is this company is like, hey, all of these companies are building in microtransactions where they're making filthy amounts of money. Why aren't you? And let's put it this way. As of right now, they do not have a controlling share in Nintendo, but that could change very quickly, especially if they were able to enthuse other investors to sell their shares to them or buy up enough free shares that possibly go live to gain a controlling share. So this is problematic. This is very problematic for Nintendo, and part of why Nintendo doesn't do that is Nintendo is very protective of their brand. Nintendo just started doing DLC to the degree that they're currently doing it, where it's you get maps or this or that. Nintendo doesn't really like doing that. They like selling you the full game. That's just, they're not, let us sell you one costume for Mario, or you get 2 fighters with Super Smash Brothers, then you got to pay for all other the 100. It's just, Nintendo very much so is protective of the company and doesn't ever want that company to really get tarnished. So, it is very interesting to see something like this come to light. It is very interesting that a company who has no experience in the game industry would come in and tell Nintendo that they're fucking doing it wrong. By all means, I agree Nintendo isn't always the most profitable of the video game companies, but Nintendo's the most stable. I get you don't necessarily understand what that means, but outside of the Wii U era, or even the GameCube era, Nintendo doesn't really struggle. And even the GameCube, they didn't really struggle. They just didn't make as much money as what they usually do. The Wii U is like the only real era where Nintendo was like, oh shit, we fucked up. So, I mean, they're a very stable company. They usually make successful products, at least to a certain degree, and they've been around the longest. I mean, I get it, Sony's been around longer, and Microsoft's been around a long time, but in the specific gaming space, Nintendo has outlasted Atari, Sega, other competitors, and I feel like this is just a power grab. Hey, we can make more money. Let's make more money. And that's all these companies typically tend to see, these renegade investors or activist investors, as they like to call themselves, which is a bunch of bullshit because the only activism they're doing is caring about lining their pockets. Thankfully, with this company, they are an American company, and, well, Nintendo is a Japanese company, so I can assure you that there's a lot of differences in business practices in Japan. I could see literally Miyamoto and other members of the company buying up more shares just to make sure that this can't happen and that the vision... this is really weird to explain, but there is a lot of honor in business in Japan. Like when the Wii U was tanking, Miyamoto and Satoru Iwata actually voluntarily took pay cuts to help the company. No American businessman would do that shit because we're too greedy. So it's very interesting to see, and I really hope that Nintendo doesn't ever wind up getting bought out or wind up with a hostile takeover happening, because 2 times, literally the Wii and the Switch, Nintendo has literally just printed money. Like, printed money. The Switch is making money hands over fist. And a lot of the software is selling stupidly well, like Animal Crossing and Breath of the Wild, which both, when they released, sold more copies than Switches that were on the market at the time. Crazy, right? So, guys, I'm curious to what you think about this. How do you feel? Do you think this is possible? Do you think it'll happen? Do you think Nintendo will protect their brand? Let me know in the comments down below. As you know, I like reading those. They self-validate me and give me someone to talk to. Also, if you're new here, don't forget to click the subscribe button and ding that bell. I really have no idea if that hoodoo magic works, but do so anyways. And drop a thumbs up because it helps me grow the audience. If you'd like to follow me anywhere else, links are as always in the description box down below, and I'll see y'all later.